Good evening, good evening. It's Moshe Landman with the Maryland Green Party. Coming to you from Clarksburg, Maryland, with a little Tiwa Savage who, here in Green, was actually performing for the King coronation. So that was exciting. And today we're going to talk about families and youth. And it's a very important issue to the Greens. So let's get right to it. Okay, hold on. Now we're ready to go. Let's get into it. Okay. U.S. families and youth. We call for social policies to focus on protecting families. The young, our citizens of tomorrow, are increasingly at risk. Programs must ensure that children, who are among the most vulnerable members of society, receive basic nutritional, educational, and medical necessities. The Green Party supports and seeks to expand Head Start and pre- and neonatal programs. A children's agenda should be put in place to focus attention and concerted action on the future that is our children. A universal, federally funded child care program for preschool and young school children should be developed. Family assistance, such as the Earned Income Tax Credit, available to working poor families in which the parent supports and lives with the children, should be maintained and increased to offset regressive payroll taxes and growing inequalities in American society. A living family wage is vital to the social health of communities. The actuarial protection of Social Security is essential to the well-being of our seniors, and maintenance of the system's integrity is an essential part of a healthy community. We oppose privatization of Social Security, call for the program to remain under the aegis of the federal government, and seek to expand its effectiveness. We support the leading-edge work of nonprofit public interest groups and those individuals breaking out of careerism to pursue non-traditional careers in public service. We must create new opportunities for citizens to serve their communities through non-military community service. Alternative community service to the military should be encouraged. We advocate the formation of a civilian conservation corps with national leadership and state and local affiliates to spearhead efforts to work on the tasks of environmental education, restoration of damaged habitats, reforestation, and cleaning up of polluted waterways. Providing land and resource management skills will challenge young people while encouraging social responsibility. So this whole topic is very important for the Green Party, the future, because the Green Party is very small now. If they have any, chance for the future, it has to be with the youth. Obviously, nutrition, we have the issue with the SNAP program, which has been limited now after COVID. It's in the Farm Bill. It's a big part of it. We need to make sure that people can eat the basic necessities of life. If they can't eat, and you can't work. We can't leave people starving in America. 44 million people on food stamps. It's literally a quarter of New Mexico, 18% of Louisiana, other states out there. This has to do with, of course, our inequality in the economic system, creating poverty. But at least let's have the housing and the food available for people. Basic food stamps, which is usually not enough. We need to make sure it's enough for the month. We're ready to spend $858 billion on the military that goes to Lockheed Martin and folks here, guns and paid for guns and weapons of death, but we're not willing to feed people. Does that make any sense? Republican Party, they're literally starving people to death. Sorry to tell you this. So they can pay for guns and tanks and these weapons of death that cost billions of dollars. Of course, let's get these programs Head Start pre, so not just public school for kindergarten up. It needs to start really at younger age. As soon as even birth, basically we should have programs for mothers who are working. The kids want to go to some sort of, put the kids in some sort of group session from 2, 3, 4, has to be paid for nationwide. We need to have that. Public school, public in location, doesn't have to be a school, but it could be more of a kids type of setting. Now let's talk about earned tax credit. The tax credit for children was higher during COVID, and then they wanted to cut that off because it expired. We need to rethink the whole system of credits for children, especially based on income. It's been a critical tool for single mothers, minority mothers, for example, those in the lower income brackets, to have that tax credit. It's literally saves them. So we need to have that. We need to make sure the numbers are enough per child, and that's another tool that we can do to help these struggling young families or single mothers. Next, we need to talk about a living wage. Of course, minimum wage is important. We need a federal minimum wage, not just a state, which Maryland just passed, a more reasonable $15 an hour, I believe. So we need to get that in place, and we need these public-private partnerships, because the private sector alone, they're looking to just make money. Typically, it's all about the dollar rather than the society at large. But the public institutions can come in and essentially force, by the fact that these initiatives, especially the green initiatives, are going to be run by, I would say, responsible adults rather than those just looking for a quick profit, the Wall Street group. It's all about the bottom line. It's all about the profit. The EPS, earnings per share, your stock price is more important than how many people are living on food stamps. So on Bloomberg, they love to talk about all of these economic data and statistics, but they don't get the picture of what's really going on in America. Although Michael Bloomberg's doing great things for the health, he went to Hopkins and he's very involved there with climate and health, so we do support that. Then we have Social Security. Of course, we need to make sure it's there. We're running out of funds quickly. At some point soon, they're going to have to cut the benefits for seniors. They won't be able to keep up with inflation. So we need to shore it up. Whether it's not a bad idea to raise the age of eligibility. People can work longer. They should, we believe. And we need to make sure that it's not privatized, that the money is there. Of course, now the U.S. is going to theoretically default on its debt. That means we won't pay the Social Security. So that's scary in itself, and even the way that we invest the Social Security. But we need to shore it up. We need to figure out how to make sure it's secure for 100 years and longer. We can do it. It's one of the biggest expenses on our federal government. We need to make sure, and it's also a part of our annual deficit, because we don't have enough to pay for it now. And then we want to help people who are working in the private sector. If they want to do another public sector type of career or part-time work, we should be able to create these avenues for people, even lawyers, doctors, even those in the private sector, spend an hour maybe online working on a public initiative. It could be a green initiative, cleaning the air, the water, cleaning up, renewing, regenerative agriculture. And we should be able to have funds, because though that type of work is productive, it actually is great for our society and for what we're doing. So it's cyclical. Let's pay for that, which is going to lead to better food for our better food, a cleaner air, a clean energy, and the system. So let's pay for that and allow people to work part-time. Could be online too, solar, for example. Let's pay people to help everyone get onto community solar and other initiatives. And then we need what's called, of course, the military, we believe, is pretty much a big waste of money, $800 billion a year. It is the biggest drain on our budget. We don't even have that money, so we're negative every year, 1 trillion. Under Trump, it was nearly 3 trillion, 2.5, then now we're back down to 1.5. The bottom line is we're running deficits, which means we're borrowing money, we have to pay that back later, and interest rates are going up, so that expense as an interest rate is now nearly $500 billion a year. So we're willing to pay $1 billion for an airplane and a tank and weapons of war, but we're not willing to pay for people who are starving under the SNAP program. Can you believe that? Republicans were willing to let these people. 25% again of New Mexico is under the food stamps, uses food stamps. 18% of Louisiana. You got places all over where it's 15%. We need to make sure that people have enough money to eat, but we need to cut the military. We'll talk about that in another show significantly, and get ourselves back on track. Civilian Conservation Corps. So why not allow everybody after high school to spend a year or two, for example, working on the environment, traveling to different parts of America, reforestation, working on reforestation, working on wetland preservation, mangroves, cleaning of the water, the air, just cleaning off, recycling, all sorts of plastics in the water, especially. Let's pay for that. It's an investment in our environment, and it helps young people learn about social responsibility, environmental issues, and it's so critical, so important. Our governor Westmore is trying to start this whole program of service, but I believe it should be environmental, unless you want to go overseas, like in the Peace Corps, and work on that as well. So that's our view on families and youth. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'll continue to go through all of the issues of the Green Party to enlighten and educate. And thank you so much. Have a good evening.